So, remember Seeking New Talent? It was a video I released right before the empty slot dropped, in which I asked you all to provide me with characters that you would want to see in the big voting poll. I actually compiled every single character suggestion and created an Excel file in which I could calculate the amount of times someone was requested. This video isn't anything too special. I just wanted to go through every single character that was requested in the Seeking New Talent video, in a similar way to Schaffrillas' most popular Mario and Zelda characters videos, as well as Mirai's video on who was the most suggested character in all of the empty slots. There are a few things I have to bring up regarding these suggestions, and it's that some of the votes got lumped together. Essentially, if two characters overlap too much in terms of ideas, I would just put the votes together into the option that I preferred the most. For the reference, I didn't really make any character or series disappear with this option. Using an example with the actual LoL Novacast, if I got votes for Star Butterfly and Reddy the Wizard, I wouldn't combine those votes into just one of them only because they are both spellcasters who cannot really control their spells. The cases I'm talking about are, say, if someone were to suggest 2 Mario and then someone else would suggest Super Show Mario. Like, they are so similar that it's just the same idea anyways. In a similar way, I combined a few votes into tag teams, as sometimes I would get people who would want said members of a tag team separately, but the tag team option was the one that got the most requests. With that all said, we can start with the characters who got just one request. Actually, never mind. The thing is that, in total, I got 1,765 characters suggested, and 1,367 of them only got one suggestion. Yup. Now imagine I went the YTP guy route, and I added every single one of them. While there were a few of those one requesters that got into the empty slot, like Tangle and Whisper, there are just so many of them. And some of them are really baffling. Like, I got suggestions for the 20th Century Fox logo, Reimu but specifically from the Bad Apple music video, the SpongeBob plug and play console where you use his nose like a joystick, Mugen Annoying Orange, and the lesbian flag. I'm not even a lesbian. But if you're interested on this list, I will link the Excel file in the description. Shoutouts to the single person who suggested Toby Fox, by the way, the only winner of the rival side that actually got suggested for this empty slot. Unsurprisingly, nobody requested Koki, but I'm surprised nobody requested Blinks either. I figured that at least one person would remember how much I like the guy. Anyways, we can move on to the 2 requesters, who are a grand total of 231 characters. Not as many, that's for sure, but it's still way too many of them. So here's a little bonus mock empty slot, just with the characters who got 2 requests. I swear if anyone votes in the comments. And that's all of the 2 requesters. You probably have noticed already, but a few of these actually made it onto the list, even though they didn't get many suggestions initially. We even got one of the winners, with Beavery. Fitting that 2 of the winners of the obscure side got so little suggestions initially. Anyhow, we can actually move on to a list of characters that I can properly discuss. The 3 requesters. Trust me, there's still a lot of them. 81 to be exact. But they are far more manageable. With 3 requests, we have Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Surprised there is no one from the series in a Lawl yet, though Nasby adding so many of these characters may have contributed to that. Ash Williams from Evil Dead. Never watched the movies, but he could be cool. Asterix and Obelix, there to promote my podcast talking about all of the films. Astrobot, who was very close to being added until I realized that I would need a PS5 to play his game. Beetlejuice. There were votes for both the live action and cartoon versions, and I'm not sure which one I would have gone with. Both are pretty iconic. Ben Tennyson from Ben 10. Again, I lumped all of the versions into one, though I feel any of them could be pretty unique thanks to the different aliens. Burton Ernie from Sesame Street, a series that really needs more reps. Blitzo from Hell of a Boss, the highest ranking Hellaverse character, and he's down here. The bowler hat guy from Meet the Robinsons, in a parallel universe he's Doofenshmirtz's rival. Bucky Beaver from Shipwrecked 64, you know, that game that looks like a 3D platformer that I would really enjoy, but it's actually a horror game, my favorite genre. Kadikarus, who really needs a moveset remake using his crazier new videos. Captain Harlock, another character with many versions, though I would probably go with the very old anime adaptation, especially because he would have a voice out using his insane English dub.
Yes! It's me!
Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, not to be confused with Carl Wizard, who only got 1 vote. This is a Robin character. Chicken Little, Chihiro from Spirited Away. I personally wouldn't call her my favorite option for a Ghibli character, honestly. Claire Higsby from Super Lesbian Animal RPG. Oh gee, I wonder why she didn't make it in. Inspector Colombo from Colombo, who I think would be absolutely hilarious. Cuphead. Again, I lumped the votes of both the game and the cartoon, and I think the game version would be more interesting. Dale Gribble from King of the Hill, probably the most popular character from that series given his previous empty slot appearances. Old Nova roster veteran Dark Helmet from Spaceballs. Hey, did you know they are making a sequel? Donald Duck, who is probably a really challenging character given all of his material, but I made Kermit, I can handle this. Or maybe the transformed guy can do it. Dr. Coomer from Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware. I still remember when everyone quoted those videos. Elmo from Sesame Street, he's kind of the mascot of the series nowadays, but he's never really been my favorite, hence why I went with the gays instead. Emmett Brigowski from the Lego Movie, he probably would have made it in if I didn't add so many other Lego characters in the obscure side. Foghorn Leghorn from Looney Tunes, I say I have no idea why I put him in an own empty slot of mine over the other Looney Tunes boy. Garn47, I've never played this game, but Car is a precious baby and I would do anything for him.
You deserve to be happy.
Gregory from Gregory Horror Show, did you know that Penguin the City was made by the studio that made this show? I guess that's one of the reasons he got suggested. Grunkle Stan from Gravity Falls, the only Ascended Assist trophy with this many votes. But come on, where's the love for Toon Stan? He-Man from Masters of the Universe, I much prefer Skeletor, but I do like the set that he has in Thistle Sea, so He-Man would be okay. Hero and Baymax from Big Hero 6, I remember they were suggested a ton for Empty Slot 3, probably because the movie was still new. Indiana Jones, did you know that I got a request to add every single character from Lawl of the Dead? That's one of the only requests that I just straight up ignored, but hey, Indy made it in. Jack Black, just the regular actor, no mention of any of his roles like Steve. By the way, he was awesome in the Beatdown Direct, and I hope he gets added to the roster. Jaden Animations. She does have a moveset in LoL's Peak Academy, but I wouldn't mind seeing a remake. Just not from me. James A. Janice from Deathmeat. I had to look it up when writing this, but hey, it's the guy who makes those kill count videos. That sounds more like an announcer to me, admittedly. Jigsaw from Saw. And I would like to call out Robin, who jokingly suggested like a bajillion versions of Jigsaw. That's the only other request that I ignored, and I just gave the regular Jigsaw a vote. Sorry, Bab. Joy and Sadness from Inside Out. Joy was in a previous empty slot of mine, but looking back, their relationship was the heart of the movie, so I think they should be a team. Kenny McCormick from South Park. A few years ago he would have been a joke moveset just because he dies a lot. Keith Dracula from one of my worst reviews, the Castlevania spin-off of the same name. Clonoa, oh my gosh, I love him so much, but I think he should be in the regular Smash. Krusty the Clown, one of the many Simpsons characters on the list. Lego SpongeBob, he's from a YouTube channel who makes animations starring him that people remember very fondly, but again, too many minifigs. May Borowski from Night in the Woods, who just really needs a hug. Megamind, who got a really great moveset in LoL Prime. He even has the dehydration gun. Michiru Kagemori from Brand New Animal. I've heard mixed things about this anime, but she's cute and does have potential. Milo Murphy from Milo Murphy's Law. I would rather see Cavendish and Dakota, but I guess he has potential. He made it into Odyssey. From one cartoon weird Al to another, we have Miracle Machine. If I made this video a bit later, I would have added him. Albuquerque just lives in my head rent-free now. Mojo Jojo from Powerpuff Girls, who would fit Nova. Mordecai and Rigby from Regular Show, who wouldn't fit Nova, apparently. Some people straight up told me that, and I don't know how to feel. Mr. Bean, but guys, he already won Empty Slot 5, don't you remember? Mr. Boss from Smiling Friends, but guys, he was already in a platform fighter, don't you remember? Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles, luckily just him from the movies and not any of his weird memes. Neo from The Matrix, another Nova empty slot veteran who didn't make the cut. Neo Cortex from Crash Bandicoot, who really needs a moveset already. Nice Peter and Epic Lloyd from Epic Rap Battles. Admittedly, another really taxing character given all of their, characters. Quote from Cave Story, a really popular indie game that I hold dearly to my heart, but others kinda took his spot in terms of representing them in Nova. Rango, for his neutral special, he wields a gun. Only once per stock though. Razorbeard from Rayman 2, another one who almost made it in, but I added a different Rayman character instead. Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town, hey, at least he won a different empty slot. Ronald McDonald from McDonald's, if he won, I would have made him a bit of an amalgam of all of his stuff. Ross from The Wild Robot, I really need to watch that film. Ruby Gloom, who some of my friends really like. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, specifically from the Rankin Bass specials. Scar from The Lion King, the evil lion's jump feels so hard. My beloved Shantae, someone who I would rather see in the regular Smash. The cartoon version of the Star Wars droids from, Star Wars droids, a really weird cartoon but it's quite charming. Stupid Mario from Stupid Mario Bros, which is apparently an old web series on YouTube. Fortunately, it's not a plush channel. Suction Cap Man, who I forgot to add to the video until the very last second while I was checking the original Excel files. I know nothing about this guy, but it was funny when he said fuck you to Walter White.
No, fuck you!
Fuck you.
Fuck you!
Fuck you.
Fuck you!
Susie from Little Witch Academia, a witch and a crazy scientist. That makes her Nova coded, I think. Supercade Mario from Saturday Supercade. I called him Toon Jumpman in a previous empty slot, and I'm still kicking myself for that. His name in the show is Mario. The Aqua Teens from Aqua Teen Force. I also got a separate vote for Master Shake, but only him. Fuck the other two, I guess. The Burger King, who I would have based on those weird Xbox games. The Conductor and DJ Grooves from A Hat in Time. I think teaming them up would be really funny. The Mask. Again, multiple versions. I went with the cartoon which I feel fits Nova the best. The Penguin from Batman Returns. Surprised that I didn't get any requests for regular Danny DeVito, but the Penguin does have old Nova benefits. The Powerpuff Girls. I swear I wouldn't have made them as broken as in their previous appearances. The Snow Queen from the original version of Frozen, probably a highlight of the Mirror Fighters commentary, quite proud of that weird poll. Torpedo Girl from Bobobo, she got more requests than any other Bobobo character, including the man himself. How? Ursula from The Little Mermaid, this I can see working in a platform fighter. She's got that body language, you know. Wally and Eve from Wall-E. Wall-E is in LOL Prime, but I still think they should have been a team. The whole movie is about them falling in love and stopping consumerism. Weird and Greg from Over the Garden Wall, a really popular show, but between this and the votes that they ultimately got, I think people just don't want to see them in a fighting game. And the last one is another YTP guy character who was in Nova's earliest roster, Wreck-It Ralph. Don't worry, I wouldn't have used anything from the sequel, aside from making the losing pose him reading the comments. As you can see, a lot of these made it into the final poll, while others were left behind, either because of overlaps in representation or me not being as familiar with their source. Now we move on to the 4 requesters. There's a significant drop with these ones, with them just being 36. Even still, there's plenty of cool ones here that did make it into the empty slot video, so let's take a look. With 4 requests, we have Abridged Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. It's a really great series, but I know cropping this character would be hell. Ako from Little Witch Academia, just getting one more request than Susie, congrats you silly girl. Alice from Horror Veil, I'll admit I haven't heard of this game before, but she looks so cute. Ask Ketchum from the Pokemon anime, we really need more Pokemon reps who are not Pokemon, especially from the early seasons of the anime. Bob the Builder, can we add him? Bob the Builder, I mean he's fine I guess. Buzzy from Theme Park World, I'm surprised 4 people voted for him, this game is so obscure. But he has been in previous empty slots, so there's that. Clutch Powers from The Adventures of Clutch Powers, another LEGO character and one that I'm surprised did better than Emmet. Dan from Dan Versus, another empty slot veteran who I hope to see given a chance someday. The Karkat cameo must happen. Danny Phantom, one of those big Nicktoons that I haven't really watched. I imagine the Nasby sets do him justice, but a more complete moveset could be fun to see. Darth Vader from Star Wars, I gravitate towards the obscure and silly Star Wars characters, like the R2-D2 who can breakdance, but hey, he's now in Hearts. Doraemon. Some people have told me that he would be difficult given his thousands of episodes and his many movies, but he has inventions that show up way more than others. I think he would be easy to figure out. Ida Clawthorne from the Owl House, surprisingly enough, the most popular Owl House character on the list, over Luz or Amity. Not complaining though, she's a hilarious old lady, even though she's actually in her 30s. General Hazel from Psycho Waluigi, this one I'm shocked got so many votes in the empty slot, since characters from stuff that I reviewed tend to not do all that well. I think people saw Waluigi in the name of the source and just went nuts. Hacked Mario, who is specifically the Mario from the Mario 64 ROM hacks. Plenty of material for him, don't get me wrong, but I just hate that model so much, you have no idea. Hitori Goto from Bocchi the Rock, whoever that is. Sorry to all Hitori fans, but this is the highest requested character that I know the least about. Maybe I will watch the anime someday and she will become my favorite character ever. Hopper from A Bug's Life, a character who almost won Empty Slot 1, but didn't get invited to this one due to his arch-nemesis making it instead. Inspector Gadget. The ARL moveset has aged really poorly, and I think he really needs a take that feels more cohesive, and without memes. No, I'm not giving him the glow or the brown bricks. Jim Carrey. I think the problem with him is that so many of his characters just have potential of their own. The live-action Grinch, the live-action Robotnik, Ace Ventura. I at least added the mask, even though he wasn't that mask. Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Yet another case where his dad got a moveset before he did. I wouldn't mind seeing Jimbo in a LoL, especially thanks to all of the inventions he has, but I wanted some franchise variety in this empty slot, hence why he was excluded. Kent Mansley, who works for the government, from the Iron Giant. I still think he would be a better idea than just having the giant himself. The guy was willing to nuke a country just to kill the giant, like, come on. Keroro from Sergeant Frog. Not sure if the, back then, recent review of his DS game contributed to him getting requests, but he's still a fun character that would have a good moveset. Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service. Again, LOL Prime got you covered, but this is someone who I would have made myself otherwise, even if I didn't end up adding her to the empty slot due to spacing reasons. King Arthur from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I actually prefer Life of Brian, but I think he has more material for a moveset. And hey, he was in LOL Demic before, and the Holy Hand Grenade is in Nova already. King Julian from Madagascar, another frequent visitor of previous empty slots, though definitely not the most popular character from the Madagascar series, even though he has a lot of material. Leela from Futurama. I didn't get as many as with the Simpsons characters, but I did get a couple of Futurama requests. Leela could definitely be fun, even if she's more serious than some of the others. Lillian the Alien from Psy Cutlery, poetically having the same amount of requests as General Hazel, though she didn't do as well in the actual empty slot. It's a shame really, because Psy Cutlery is a real banger of a game. Mortadelo and Philemon. I'm shocked to see them with one more request than the goals, but it's good to see people recognize the potential of these agents. I swear, I'm just gonna make them one day unprompted. Regan Ridley from The Inside Job, a modern favorite of mine that infamously got cut short, but she definitely has potential and fits with the other Nova scientists. Plus, Bigfoot was in her show. Reggie Fils-Aimé from Nintendo. Not someone who I admire as much as Sakurai, but easily the most mimetic Nintendo personality. He didn't make it because he was too busy playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on his Nintendo 3DS. Seth from Corn Kids 64. I wonder if people got shocked to see him in the main poll, seeing how many expected him to be the rival to Sybil. I went with someone else for the GOAT, but this GOAT is really cool too. Shrek, who finally got his moveset in LOL Prime at the same time as Megamind. Didn't add him to the poll because I knew he would win if I did. Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons, another highly requested Simpsons character. On the one hand, it's a shame he cannot be Bart's rival anymore, but on the other, I think that would make his hypothetical inclusion even funnier. A one-sided rivalry with an actual child. The Noise from Pizza Tower, who ended up appearing in a Smash Bros. LOL thing too. He was also close to being added, but I prioritized other indie characters instead. Plus, he's kind of annoying, which is the point, but yeah. Tsuyu Asui, or Froppy, from My Hero Academia. She was in a previous empty slot and is one of the two UA students who got more than just one request. You can imagine who was the other one. Also, she would be funny because people jokingly say that she's Kermit's daughter and, you know. Uncle Grandpa, whose show I just don't like, and no amounts of him being buff or that mean about like, oh, he only said good morning and you hated him, will make me change my mind. And finally, the character who will always be at the bottom of an alphabetical list. C, the Woody Allen ant from Ants. He was in the old roster and him and Flick were meant to be rivals. And once you see where Flick is, this position becomes hysterical. And that's all of the 4 requesters. We are moving on to the 5 requesters, who are just 18 characters. We have Ben Drowned from the infamous Majora's Mask creepypasta. No matter how many requests you get, you will never catch me adding a creepypasta character. Even though I will admit, Ben Drowned had a lot of effort put into it. Carmen Sandiego from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. Most people didn't specify which version, and while I did consider Reboot Carmen because she has a lot of material thanks to her gadgets, and I also translated a game based on her show, I just think the coolest one for a LOL setting would be the one from the 90s cartoon, so that's who I chose. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I think out of all of the possible actors to be added to a LOL, The Rock is probably one of the best bets, mainly because he always plays the same character basically. He's also a wrestler, so you could take stuff from there, and his stage should be a jungle. He has so many jungle movies. Felix the cat, the most wonderful cat. This is another character who has a lot of different ways to be handled. Though I believe that, as unpopular as it is, one can't deny that the one with the most material is the version with the bag of tricks. Perfect rival for Doraemon right there. Gumball and Darwin from The Amazing World of Gumball. They got more requests than Mordecai and Rigby, even though I prefer regular show over this show. They do have a lot of material, it would just be a challenge to sort out the best out of the bunch. Homer Simpson from The Simpsons. He was very close to being added, but much like Shrek, I felt he would end up crowning the empty slot immediately if he got added. And nothing wrong with Homer, the thing is just that if I add him, I would also need to put Peter Griffin in my Lawl, and well, I'm glad Lawl Prime has that curse now. Mike and Sully from Monsters Inc. I'm so shocked that Mr. Waternoose got a moveset before them. The material is definitely there, no matter how you handle the tag team aspect. I think a cool mechanic would be that Sully is able to feel a scare meter that then Mike would be able to use. There are just so many ways to handle these monsters from this great movie. Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club, another really challenging character to make, and not just due to some of the themes in this game. She was in Lawl Soul, but didn't appear all that much due to the difficulty of spriting her, but applying the weird powers that she has into a moveset could still be interesting. Neptune from Hyperdimension Neptunia. Admittedly, this is a series that I find a little bit hard to get into. I don't really mind cutesy anime stuff, and I am a fan of the Sega Heartgirls who crossed over with her, but something about the Neptunia games just feels like too much. I know she was in Empty Slot 4, but that one was full of stupid characters who I wouldn't make nowadays. Nimona. This is a movie I personally really liked and was all of the rage when the Empty Slot came out. I think a moveset for her could be really fun, as she could essentially have the same playstyle that I brought up for Cusco in the Assist Trophies commentary video. Ochako Uraraka, or Uravity, from My Hero Academia. Definitely the My Hero Academia character that people wanted to see the most. She was my favorite out of what I watched of the series, and her gravity powers could certainly be used in fun ways. She is in a couple of fighting games already, but I didn't really vibe with her playstyle in them. Octocat from Octocat Adventure. He was originally going to be a full-blown joke moveset back when he was in the replacement polls. But nowadays I would actually make him viable, because the shorts aren't really bad. That's the whole thing, they are meant to look like they were made by a hyperactive child who draws worrying stuff. Patchy the Pirate from SpongeBob SquarePants. He almost won the whole poll. He was so close to beating out Mabel Pines of all people. Thinking about that just makes my head spin. I mean, I do like Patchy, his sketches are funny, and he would be unique compared to other SpongeBob characters. But man, you guys like him that much? Popeye the Sailor Man. Easily one of the classic cartoon characters that I would like to see the most in a LOL. Seriously, just from the Arabian Nights cartoons, you can get so many fun normals. Also, I have been playing all of his games for a review, and almost none of them make you feel like Popeye, the same way that a LOL moveset would. Syndrome from The Incredibles, beating out Mr. Incredible by a good amount of requests. I feel he's definitely more fitting of LOL thanks to his crazy personality and his inventions. Plus, it's always cool to have more villains as playable characters. Will Smith, who ties with The Rock as the most voted actor. In the end, I didn't include any actors in the anti-slot because I know that once one of them wins, it's gonna be a difficult task to watch all of their movies to get that sweet moveset potential. But I would be down for Will Smith, he deserves more than just being a narrator in the original LOL. And finally, Whiz and Boomstick from Death Battle. I admit, I haven't really watched a lot of Death Battle, and when I do, a lot of the times I just skip to the actual Death Battle. The two do have fun personalities, but like I said with the Death Meat guy, I feel like they should be announcers more than anything. Yup, that's all of the 5 requesters. Okay, fine, I will address him. Yes, there is another 5 requester, and it's Chuck the Dingaling Kid from The Simpsons. 5 of you wanted this absolute nothing meme character to get a moveset, and I find that commendable. He got the same amount of requests as Homer Simpson. I just thought it would be funny to make a fake out and reference a meme that also involves a Skinner, and then I put him on the empty slot video but not in the Google Forms because I know this community and how much they love their what the fuck pics. Every time an empty slot does that, it's the Mayor Donkey fable, except here the Mayor is a sloth. Funnily enough, that thing at the end of the forms, where I asked which character you would add to the empty slot if you had the ability to add just one more person, yeah, Chuck won that. I actually considered turning that into a hidden poll where the highest voting character would make it in, but nope, because it was Chuck. And the funniest thing, the only character who got somewhat close to him in terms of amount of votes was Homer Simpson. With the 5 requesters gone, we can move on to the 6 requesters. This tier is the final one with characters who didn't make it into the poll. You will notice that those characters who didn't make it were all in previous empty slots, and that's actually the reason I didn't include most of them, as I wanted to prioritize new faces, so some of the veterans had to sit out of this one. With 6 requests, we have the most voted Amphibia character, Anne Bunchui, although her only competition was a singular request for Hop Pop. No Sprig, no Sasha, no Marcy, none of the villains, just a bunch of ants and a single Hop Pop. But Anne is cool. Even though most of her moveset material comes from the very end of the series, she's a really funny character and her personality would clash really well in a LoL setting. Not much else to say admittedly, other than watch Amphibia if you haven't. Fancy Pants Man from Fancy Pants Adventures. Not a series I'm the biggest fan of, not because they are bad, I just think they are neat examples of flash platformers. He was already in Newran's Rumble, though in LoL he would obviously have a more complex set of moves. Other than that, yeah, he would be a really fun and agile character in the style of the other platformer reps in LoL. Fred Flintstone from the Flintstones. Like Doraemon, I feel Fred has the quirk of that, while he has years and years of material, a lot of his possible moves seem rather obvious. He would clearly have his bowling ball, his silly car, the different appliances made with dinosaurs and birds. Hell, if anything, I wouldn't mind seeing him as a rival to Homer. Also, a few years ago, I would have assumed that he got that many requests because of Siva Gunner, but I think nowadays the support is more genuine. Fry from Futurama. Yeah, this is the highest voted Futurama character, and surprisingly enough, he got more requests than any of the Simpsons characters. What are the odds? I feel it's only a matter of time before a Futurama character drops into Nova, given how associated the Simpsons are with my LoL. But I excluded him from the empty slot as I still need to watch a lot more episodes of the series in order to fully craft a moveset out of this 20th century guy stuck in the future. Okay, this next spot is going to shock a lot of folks, because it's none other than Homura Akemi from Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Recently, Homura has gotten a bit of a reputation in the LoL community because she's in almost every empty slot and always does really poorly, which, if you know her role in the show, is tragically fitting for her character, but there's still a lot of reasons to want her. Not just because her show is great, but also her time powers and weapons would make her a great fit for a platform fighter, though in Nova she may overlap a little bit with Blinks and the Worm. Then we have Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, I don't think I need to explain just how popular this movie is. Even to this day, the face of this skeleton who loves Christmas is widely recognized, and there's definitely a lot of creative ways that you can handle a moveset for him. Aside from his skeletal figure making him fun to animate, he's got the weird presents, his flaming pumpkin form, he can throw his head. It's perfect material for a set to be released on either Halloween or Christmas. The New York Giants from Madagascar, also known as Alex, Marty, Melman and Gloria. I admit, this one is a bit of a cheat. Remember when I said that I would lump votes for characters in and out of tag teams? Yeah, that's what happened with these guys. While there were requests to have all 4 of them on a team, there were just as many people who simply wanted Alex the Lion. I feel Alex has potential for a moveset of his own, but the other animals I just can't really see working outside of a tag team, aside from maybe Gloria. Seems like solo Alex is the route that Lawl Prime went with, which... man, I've mentioned Lawl Prime a lot today, haven't I? The rabbit from the Raving Rabbit series. Yeah, not gonna lie, this one was also very close to being added to the list, but aside from me wanting to prioritize newer suggestions, I still have a little bit of a complicated relationship with the rabbits. Some of their games are fun, especially Rabbits Go Home, but for a moveset I would have to play all of their games, which are mostly shovelware minigame collections. There is a reason people want to see the Mario cosplayed rabbits from Mario and Rabbids in Smash as opposed to the regular Moron Bunnies. Oh yeah, they also held Rayman hostage for multiple years, which still hurts. Raven from Teen Titans. See, if I hadn't watched the series, I would have gone with the low hanging fruit and say that she was only voted because she's waifu, goth girls, yeah. But I think there's plenty of merit for this character being playable, mainly the fact that you can get pretty creative with her dark magic and her ability to pick up things and throw them. Her aesthetic also makes her super different from the Raven that we have gotten in other fighters, like Injustice or Multiversus, and it's probably the one that fits LoL the most. Actually, the Go version is probably the most fitting for LoL, but who wants that? Tintin from The Adventures of Tintin. Honestly, it's super cool to see him this high. It's rare to see characters from outside the USA making it big in empty slots, but it seems like Tintin really broke that barrier, most likely due to the amazing 3D film from 2011. I admit that I'm not as well versed in his stories as I am with Asterix or Mortadelo, but there's plenty of material to pull from for a really cool moveset. It also helps that the cartoon adapted a lot of his comics, so it would be a pretty faithful adaptation of Hergé's work. Toon Mega Man from the Mega Man Ruby Spears cartoon. We really need another character from this silly series in a LoL, especially because of the way Toon Wily got butchered because of his terrible normals. I think this version of Mega Man is funny enough to get a pretty unique moveset and shine through with his 90s hero personality. Sure, you could say that he just has the same powers as in his games, but just look at the Leaf Shield from his games and how they adapted that into the cartoon. If you cannot come up with something that doesn't overlap with the Smash Mega Man, maybe you need more creativity. Oh yeah, at one point Toon Roll was the rival for CDI Zelda. Toon Obama from Inca Games. This is another character I'm so happy to see so requested. In case you don't know, Inca Games was a flash game website that made point-and-click adventure games that either had Obama as the main character, Jigsaw as the villain, or both. Most of his games had him replace the heroes of movies and pop culture in general, so that combined with his big arsenal of items would make him super fun to design and play as. I know that adding political figures to LoL can be a bit of a minefield, but this Obama is so unhinged that you often forget that, yes, this is meant to be former US President Barack Obama. And finally we have Uzi and N from Murder Drones. Another tag team, although in this case people just wanted to see them together. I actually watched their series shortly after making this empty slot, and I think it's pretty cool. I have my gripes with it, but it was something that I enjoyed from start to finish, and I also enjoyed Uzi and N themselves. Especially N, he's such a dork. Perhaps making them would be a bit tough given the dark lighting in a lot of the shots, but coming up with movesets for the two robots wouldn't be too hard. Though a Uzi moveset would be a walking spoiler, since most of her cooler stuff happens by the end of the series. The amount of characters for each category keeps getting smaller, as there were only 5 characters that got requested 7 times, all of which made it into the final poll. And these are, of course, Bugs Bunny from the Looney Tunes. See, this is a Looney Tunes character I can see multiple people rooting for. Like I said with other classic cartoon characters earlier, like Popeye or Felix, Bugs Bunny has a buttload of material from his different shorts, but at the same time, he has traits that he has been carrying over throughout all of them, like digging through the ground or flying with his ears. For what it's worth, I think Multiversus did a good job with him, but he also felt like a character meant to represent Looney Tunes as a whole, with some moves that would fit someone like Wile E. Coyote more, so a Lawl take on him would definitely be awesome to see. This is also the part where I would mention that he would have a Big Chungus attack, but I know for a fact we will see a Big Chungus moveset before a Bugs Bunny one. Princess Toadstool from the Mario cartoons. I'm honestly kind of surprised that she got that many requests. I mean, yeah, she's a character from a very popular YouTube poop source, and we have seen other characters from these cartoons in other LOLs. But having more than the Mario from this series? That I didn't expect. Also, she was in previous empty slots as a tag team with Toad, but Toad didn't get a single request this time around. People just want to see the princess, and you know what? She does have material, especially in the Super Show where she would don different outfits for each occasion. Speaking of outfits, I would absolutely give her that Milli Vanilli sweater as an alt. Can you tell that I wrote all of this before she got added to LOL Hearts? Toon Gandalf from Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. I believe this is a character who heavily benefits from his history in LOL Nova, being one of the many characters in that original roster. I mainly added him because I thought it would be interesting to have a toon version of a non-video game character, which didn't really exist back then. Aside from that, I believe this version of Lord of the Rings has kind of found itself back into the internet consciousness, with people frequently talking about its odd designs and rotoscoped animations, for better or for worse. And my intent with Toon Gandalf, if he ever comes to be, is to represent all of the animated adaptations of the Middle-earth created before Peter Jackson's. I know the final smash will be the giant crossbow from the Gene Deitch Hobbit movie. Vanellope Von Sweets from Wreck-It Ralph, outperforming the big guy quite a bit, likely because she hasn't had a moveset yet, and she's once again an old roster veteran. I admit that the moveset I originally planned for her was a bit of a mess, since it took more from the presumed mechanics in Sugar Rush as opposed to her own unique abilities, but I think nowadays I would be able to do her justice a lot more. She's kind of the first character that made me fall in love with energetic and silly girl characters, the same sort of archetype already present in Nova with Star, Mabel or Jade, so she would fit right in, and I'm not surprised she got that many requests. Also, I do believe there is some material from the sequel she could use, as that music number she had was one of the highlights in that otherwise awful movie. And the final 7 request character is Wonder from Wonder Over Yonder. This is one I'm surprised to see this high. Wonder is a bit similar to Reagan from a few positions ago, where people seem to talk about the series in the context of it being cut short and overshadowed by its contemporaries more than the series itself. Which is a shame because it's a really funny show. What shocks me is how high he is in comparison to the other characters from the show, as I always felt that Lord Dominator and Lord Hater had more of a following, especially in terms of getting movesets. Not to say that Wonder wouldn't have a fun moveset though, especially with all of the stuff that he can pull out of his hat. Hell, just put him on top of Sylvie all the time and make him a mounted fighter. I don't think we have any of those yet. And now we move on to the characters with 8 requests, who, just like the 7 requesters, are just 5. Yes, it's a big coincidence that this happened. But who are they? Well, they are Dex Doctective from Food Fight. Fun fact, this guy was super close to being added into Nova, as he was almost one of the winners of Empty Slot 2. Only for someone not to vote for him, but vote for Timmy's dad at the last second. One thing I feel we could have more in a LOL are characters that come from sources that just plain suck. Like, it obviously makes sense to mainly focus on characters from material that you personally like, but including a few characters from very terrible and so bad it's good sources can make for really fun movesets as long as they are not just joke movesets being played straight. I also feel Dex got a lot of submissions because Food Fight got a bit of a resurgence not too long before the empty slot happened, thanks to the documentary and the leaking of many of its assets. I don't give a spam, this guy could still be fun. Also, the animatic for investors is just as bad as the final movie, if not worse. Finn and Jake from Adventure Time. Here's our most suggested Cartoon Network character, and I'm not surprised by that. Adventure Time is really underrepresented in LoL, in spite of it being one of the most influential shows of its era, having so many characters to choose from and somehow still being alive and kicking thanks to specials and spin-offs. And we have, what, 2 Lemongrab movesets that were mostly made because he was in the Frollo show? Finn and Jake can work separately as we saw in Multiversus, but I personally would want to see a moveset that combines the two into one like Banjo and Kazooie. Have Finn use his sword and different items he gets from his adventures, while Jake stretches and turns into different things to help out Finn. This is a duo I can see in multiple LoLs because there are just so many ways to interpret their abilities. Mickey Mouse from Disney. This is probably the first ever popularity poll in which Mickey is more popular than Donald. But seriously, how has this not happened already? He was previously in LoL Soul before its cancellation, but I'm shocked no one has made a Mickey moveset like ever. Not even a bad one. I think the reason why is fairly obvious, which is that out of all of the characters where I have said there are many different ways to interpret them, he is the one where that applies the most. Hell, if you just want to restrict yourself to the shorts, the vibe of his shorts changes a lot across the years. Do you want the little rascal with the rubber hose physics from his original shorts? His more adventurous outings in his first color shorts? A more grounded character based on his later years? And that's not even mentioning the possibilities of making Epic Mickey, or King Mickey, or the Mickey from the Paul Rudy shorts. If he had won, it would have been a pretty fun experiment for me, just like Kermit before him. Fitting since the two actually met. Vinny from Vinesauce. I mean, it's only natural. Nova is the LoL that has Joel, so I imagine a lot of people would be wondering, where's Vinny? I admit that I'm not as knowledgeable on Vinny's streams and memes as I am with Joel, and he's a streamer that I enjoy more in the highlight videos than in the actual full streams he makes. I don't know, it may be his more chill attitude and general apathy when playing games, which does make it really funny when he encounters something that makes him lose his marbles, like the infamous Tabby Custard incident. I also believe that a lot of the Vinesauce content we currently have in LoL is very focused on Joel specifically. I mean, obviously all of the Vinesauce stuff in Nova is from Joel, but we also have Lawlers mod who has Lasagna Ocelot and Friend, plus people interested in making other characters like Granddad or Bulk Bogan. Vinny, meanwhile, was in Starstruck, but later cut, and Sponge was in What If, and later cut. People wanted justice for the funny pizza pasta man, which explains his high position here. And finally, Wallace and Gromit. Yup, we have the first one out of the winners of the well-known side, and it makes sense that they are this high. Admittedly, there is not much to say here that I haven't mentioned in the direct, and I don't want to delve into what they could possibly do in a moveset, given, well, you will get to see that in their actual moveset. Funnily enough, Wallace and Gromit were almost not put into the empty slot, which is crazy to say considering how, well, they won, but I wanted to give the opportunity to a different Artman character and let them sit out of this one given their status as empty slot veterans. Of course, while I got requests for characters like Mrs. Tweedy or Ginger, no one got the same amount of popularity as the dynamic duo, so I just had to add them. So glad I didn't leave them out. The list of candidates is getting smaller and smaller, but we have 2 more voting categories with more than one character. And by more than one I mean 2. Our next category is the characters with 9 requests, and both have plenty in common. You will see why. The 9 requesters are Goofy from Disney. Yes, he got more votes than both Mickey and Donald, and he should be proud of that. Part of the reason I feel he got more submissions than his peers is because he was the sole classic Disney rep from Empty Slot 3, giving him the edge in prior appearances. But again, old Empty Slot bias can only get you so far. So why do people love Goofy? Well, he's quite a fitting character for a LoL, given his clumsy attitude and tendency to cause damage accidentally. But I also feel he's got a more consistent set of abilities and things he's known for compared to Mickey and Donald. There's things that ring true to the character no matter the adaptation, like his love for fishing, and of course, the fact he practices a lot of different sports and fumbles with them. There are certainly many ways to make a character in a platform fighter who fights by using sports, but the unique way Goofy does it would make him a really fun character to see. He also has the most obvious star KO sound of all time. Like, it's so obvious that I would show it before any of his specials. And we also have Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales. Yup, another classic Disney character, though not one primarily known for his short films. Admittedly, this is another case where the combined votes certainly helped the character, since there were people who wanted the 87 version of Scrooge, while others wanted the 2017 version. And others just said Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales, without specifying which version. Both, I believe, are similar enough that they could be echoes of one another, or even just alternate costumes, but I went with the modern incarnation because I just feel he's got a few more moments to shine in terms of combat. And we even have animations of him performing moves from the NES game that everyone knows and loves. Not to mention the fact that, while I do have a soft spot for the old DuckTales, the newer series is definitely superior in my opinion, thanks to it having a sense of humor that I vibe more with, and the triplets being more distinctive. No matter what, I wanna see a set for Scrooge, and I can tell many people do too, since he was very close to winning as well. Let's take a little break from the Mickey Mouse characters and move on to the 10 requesters, who just like in the previous category are just 2, and they couldn't be any more different from one another. First, we have Coraline Jones from Coraline, the main reason that Jack Skellington didn't make it to the final poll. Yeah, Coraline is a really good movie. As the first film by Laika, they did a tremendous job and I feel that they picked with it, as good as Kubo or Paranorman are. Even then, I'm surprised that Coraline of all people got this high on the list. Don't get me wrong, the movie is certainly very beloved and one that many people grew up with and were terrified by. But I don't know, she doesn't seem like a character that gets requested all that often, and her unremarkable voting count on the actual empty slot proves me right. But I still believe there is a lot of merit to the character. Again, I love this movie and its aesthetic, and I would love to see a moveset that takes advantage of some of the wackier elements from it. I envision Coraline as a bit of a stop-motion take of the RPG Maker horror characters, with her making use of the different living dolls and weird things from the parallel world. One would argue that it would make more sense for the other mother to have that, but she's definitely easier to sprite. Funnily enough, she was going to be the original rival to Deeper Pines, before she ended up being replaced by a different blue-haired girl. And speaking of Hilda, the same way that she has a move where she calls out Twig, Coraline could have a move where she picks up the cat and And the second character from this request threshold is Toon Rayman from Rayman the Animated Series, with a bit of an asterisk. I have to admit that this is one I wish I had counted differently, because these votes are the combination of two characters that one may argue are different enough to deserve their own positions. That's because I combined the votes of Toon Rayman with the ones for regular Rayman, who a couple of people suggested due to my love of the series, but falls into the same category as Shantae or Klonoa. I just really want to see him in the real Smash, so my love for him doesn't translate too well into LOL material. But this Rayman, the one from the short-lived 3D animated series, is probably the one that fits the silly vibe of LOL the most. There is a little bit of overlap with the regular one, thanks to his throwing hands and his helicopter hair, but there is also unique stuff that he could use, like circus props from the first episode, his infamous Ka, maybe have some moves involving his friends that were only in this show and nowhere else. I don't know, I think he would fit in the same way as Toon Dr. Mario or Dan Backslide, where the source material is limited but the personality and animation just sells the character. How I wish this show did get all of its planned episodes though, maybe then he would have gotten higher on the list, or to this position without the help of his regular self. And we've reached a key part of this video. because with 11 requests, we have not only the third spot on the list in general, but also the highest requested character who actually made it into the current LoL Nova roster. This shouldn't come off as a surprise to anyone, considering this very character teased the video you're currently watching, but the bronze medal goes to Mabel Pines from Gravity Falls. Yeah, there's not much else I can really say that I didn't already say in the direct. Gravity Falls is awesome, and Mabel is a really fun character that fits really well in a LoL. Combine the fact that she made it into LoL Nova gameplay footage at one point, and this led to everyone, including a Jito who made a moveset for her in the past, to vote for her to bring her back to Nova. It's such an obvious character that I actually showed the roster with the empty slot winners to certain people before the direct went live, and they didn't even register Mabel as a winner because they just thought that she was always there. It's just like when Miyamoto was talking about the first Smash Bros. And he mentioned Bowser even though he wasn't playable. The question is, if this super obvious and beloved character only made it into bronze, who did get more requests than her? Well, with 13 requests, earning the silver medal, we have Flick from A Bug's Life. Yeah, this one doesn't really surprise me either. Much like Mabel, he has that legacy of LoL Nova dating back to the old roster, and people close to me know that I really like A Bug's Life. It's not even my favorite Pixar movie in an objective sense, but I think the fact that it's so overlooked made me latch onto it harder than any of the others. My obsession with this movie was kind of the prelude to my love of bees, even though there is no bees in this movie. Anyways, Flick actually had a full moveset written back in the day, but it kinda sucked. Way back I wanted a character to be my Bill Nye and be incredibly complex and filled with different options, so I decided to base Flick's moveset on the video game adaptation of his film, with a whole system based around planting seeds of different colors to create plants that would serve him in battle. Needless to say, that take was stupid, and it completely overlooked or misplaced important elements from the movie just because the game took priority. Like his final smash wasn't the bird, he didn't surf on a leaf even though that was on the cover of the game, and the dandelion, which would have been the perfect up B, was just one of his many seeds. If I were to make the moveset now, it would entirely be based on the movie with a few nods to the game. Like I would still keep the berry throw because it just fits him despite not appearing in the movie, and I would fill his stage with music from the game because, oh my god, that soundtrack is just awesome. Just listen to the track that I'm using right now. Flick is just one of those characters that one day I might just make out of a whim, but it depends on my mood. And finally, the number one spot, a character with a total of 19 requests. Keep in mind, this character has more than twice the requests than Wallace and Gromit got. Wait, what am I saying? Character? I meant characters, because the golden medal is shared between the Penguins of Madagascar, also known as the Penguin Squad or Skipper, Kowalski, Private and Rico, from the Madagascar series. Yeah, a lot of the same stuff that I mentioned about Flick applies here as well. These guys were in the old roster, and also in plenty of the empty slots before this one. Madagascar isn't a series that I have a big attachment to, but that absolutely does not apply to the TV show that these guys got. That was, and still is, an absolute blast and my favorite take on these characters. Like maybe if they only had the movies to go with, I could argue that the best way to do it would be to just go with Skipper and have the others appear for different specials. But they just have so much material that I feel it would be justified to have them as a 4-way tag team, something that hasn't happened in a LoL before. I feel like the fact that all of them fit a very specific character archetype would make it justified for these 4, in a way that doesn't work as well for, say, the actual quartet from Madagascar, and the fact that none of them is a quadruped certainly helps. Like maybe Kowalski is more complex because he's the inventor of the group, but other than that, I can perfectly visualize how they would play. In fact, they did have a moveset written by me back in the day, but it was 100% based on the show, and I would like to include a few things from the movies as well. I would also like to bring up that these guys had a similar case to Toon Rayman, where some of the requests didn't go exactly towards them. 2 people just wanted Skipper, 1 wanted Rico, and I also got a vote for
Los pingüinos me la van a mascar.
But count those out, and you are left with 15 votes. They still get the golden medal. It's clear that people really wanted these guys, and they also did super well in the empty slot itself. They would have won if the empty slot worked like the Smash ballot. But does the empty slot work like the Smash ballots? And that's all. Thanks for watching this video and enduring all of my ramblings. I just find it really fun to talk about these characters and theorize as to why they got more or less requests, and how these results compare to the actual empty slot results. So yeah, see you on the next video!